They just released some information on talent trees for the next expansion. So curious about this one. Dragonflight contains major updates to World of Warcraft classes, centering on the reintroduction of talent trees. In this preview, we first take a look at the prototype trees for Druid and Death Knight. There's still a lot of work to be done. We want to share what we can and start collecting detailed feedback at this early stage. Okay. Talent system design philosophy. Now, this is very important. Some of our biggest goals in a class and talent revamp are to increase player agency over your character's progression and build, provide meaningful rewards while leveling and reinforcing your character's connection to both their class and their spec. In addition, we felt we had to retain many features of modern World of Warcraft specializations. Have many unique abilities, some of which might be central to the idea of the spec or identity of the spec. They have a wide variety of optional bonuses that have been created at various times over the years. This all led us back to talent trees, a concept familiar to people who played WoW before Mists of Pandaria. I loved talent trees back in the day, dude. I loved it. Visually, trees are still an intuitive way to represent the different paths one could follow while making many choices about your character. Trees also communicate dependencies and magnitude intuitively without a lot of added rules. For example, talents higher in the tree are expected to be more commonly chosen, while talents lower in the tree are more optional and more geared towards shaping max level builds. Dragonflight talent trees have some significant differences from previous versions of talent trees in World of Warcraft. Okay. First, you have not one tree, but two. Interesting. This is due to the combined importance of class-wide and specialization-specific themes for current WoW characters. The class tree contains a core set of abilities available to all specs in a class and has a higher proportion of utility choices. It's a place where you can go, among other things, choose some abilities or passives that draw from the identity of other specializations to give your character some hybrid flavor, or simply to grab something particularly useful for certain content. The specialization tree is predominantly focused on bonuses that enhance your power in your main role. Keeping these separate is one way to ensure that you have some choices in both areas without, for example, feeling compelled to give up all your utility or off-spec buttons in order to maximize your main role. Okay. That could be a good thing or a bad thing, in my opinion. Like, we'll see. We'll see. I like the fact that there are the two talent trees, gives you a lot of customization. I just worry that you're going to have to, like, give up some fundamental spells. You know, it's like, are they going to make you choose, like, oh, do you want to have Frost Nova or Polymorph? You know, I don't know. I hope not, but you know what I mean? Here's some answers to questions and answers that we know you might be wondering about. Some abilities are critical to my rotation. Will that mean I always have to build a certain way? No, the most basic building blocks of rotation will tend to be either learned from levels 1 to 10, awarded automatically in the class tree, or placed at the top of your spec tree for the first points in the talent tree. In other cases, major abilities that we expect to be a part of most builds will be near the start of a tree or an easily accessible path so they don't constrain your other choices. A certain piece of utility is important in certain content. For example, interrupts into the plus. Does this limit my choices? Similarly, the more likely something is to be all but required for some players, the more we must place in the tree in an appropriate location. One that still leaves the rest of your build choices very open. So you're gonna have to see things like interrupts are gonna be talents, guys. Like, there's the thing, I don't know how many base abilities we have and how much is just like, you basically are fully talenting out your character. Does this mean it's possible to make very bad builds? In short, yes, there are limits and guardrails here, such as those abilities that are automatically given. And furthermore, our goal in designing the trees is not to trap players in complicated choices in order to make a functional build. In fact, it's the opposite. It's set up the trees with intuitive paths that lead you to reasonable builds, but with the key philosophy of this rework is to keep the players the driver's seat of their character's growth in their class. Does this mean that some of the points are spent on somewhat obvious choices and aren't likely to be moved? Often, yes. 61 points is drastically more than the 7 that players currently have in Shadowlands, and it would 61 points, damn, probably make a mistake if all 61 points were always heavily in play. This is part of how we maintain the balance alluded to above, where it's not overwhelming to make and analyze builds. The tree contains a spectrum of more basic abilities all the way to comparatively advanced ones, and one of the advantages of the system is letting you draw that line. Doesn't this all mean that I will use some of my points to rebuy some things that were baseline in Shadowlands? For all the reasons mentioned above, making a huge swath of abilities open to players' decision-making requires this. We hear this feedback as primarily a concern about having much less stuff than you had in Shadowlands. After starting with your basic class and spending 61 points in a talent tree, you will feel pruned. Will you feel pruned? Openly, our goal is that you don't. We'll be watching for feedback on this. Our goal is that is for a Dragonflight character to feel like it has a similar amount of power and complexity, which can be hard to quantify as a Shadowlands character. The main difference is you're getting to choose which active buttons and passive bonuses make up the tool set, and potentially having combinations that were previously impossible. One other set of questions around what abilities are still awarded automatically outside of the tree. There are a few broad categories. Abilities learned before 10, the most basic element of what starts to make it into your class, Moonfire, Deathstrike. Buttons whose impact is primarily non-combat and non-power related, Teleport, Moonglade. Path of Frost, Revive. What? You're gonna have to, oh, those are gonna be talents? Okay. Non-stacking group buffs, where a group virtually always wants exactly one person with the ability. Raise Ally, Rebirth, Marco the Wild. Oh, you just get those. Oh, okay. There are a lot of case-by-case calls to be made around all of this, but by and large, we are pushing ourselves to leave it to the players to explore in the trees how to build out their class from levels 10 to 70. Okay, let's take a further look at this. Okay, these are always in. Okay, these are outside of the tree, those abilities. I was mistaken about that. A few nuts and bolts. The experience of using the tree will be more intuitive when you play with the system in-game, but we want to provide some explanation here for those who want to analyze the current draft trees in detail. Please bear in mind, these are all subject to change as we continue a development. Your first class tree point is awarded at 10, your first specialization tree point at 11, alternating between the two from there. At 70, you'll have 31 class and 30, okay, 31 class points and 30 specialization points. Certain class abilities in the class tree are given automatically to people who have particular specializations. These do not cost any points. Most talents have prerequisites. These will be indicated by arrows in the final UI. If a talent has any arrow leading to it, you must have fully purchased at least one of the previous talents to access it. For clarity, arrows always point downwards or diagonally downwards in the current drafts. Every tree has certain rows that you can't advance past until you spend a certain number of talent points. In the prototype Druid and Death Knight trees, you cannot buy talents in the 5th row and beyond until you spend 8 points in the tree, and you cannot buy talents in the 8th row and beyond until you spend 20 points in the tree. Okay. The octagonal choices nodes you may obtain one of the two choices at a time. Okay, so there's some like really hard choices I think you're gonna have to make at some point where you only get to choose one of them, I think. All right, let's take a look at Druids, guys. We're gonna take a look at Druids. The Dragonflight talent update is a great opportunity to let the Druid explore the flexibility inherent to the class. In many ways, the affinity concept from Legion through Shadowlands was anticipating something that we're hoping to re-emphasize here. The ability to choose elements of various shape-shifting forms and roles. The idea is now expanded into a class talent tree that is passed relating to every specialization, where deeper investment obtains more of that spec's fundamental buttons. Various utility and crowd controls are placed in optional locations on every branch, as well as in a central area that makes it easy for every specialization to access. Our hope is that every spec can play in somewhat traditional manner, where it fills out the complete path laid out in the core tree, and then pick up the choice of miscellaneous utility, or a more customized manner where it reaches deeper into the other specs paths. So this is the balance feral restoration trees. Is it just, can we actually click on them? Let's take a look here. Okay, so we can read about this, I guess. Okay, below you'll find a list of baseline abilities available for Druid. So let's look at the baseline abilities for Druid, for example. Okay, oh, here we go. Sorry about that. All right, let's go right here. Baseline abilities. All maximum level Druids will have access to these abilities they have earned through leveling and do not require you to spend any talent points. So you get Wrath, Moonfire, Regrowth, Revive, Entangling Roots, Bear Form, Bark Skin, Growl, Cat Form, Prowl, Dash, Ferocious Bite, Aquatic Form, Travel Form, Flight Form, Teleport Moonglade, Mark of the Wild, and Rebirth. So that's like a pretty, that's a pretty good starting point, right? That's decent. You don't get Cyclone. You get a lot. Read Mark of the Wild. Increases a target's speed and critical strike by 3% and reduces their magic damage taken by 3% for 60 minutes. Okay. More speed, huh? So let's take a look at like Druid talent trees. Okay, row 1. So you get to choose between Druid baseline abilities. All right, so this is like the baseline abilities. So if we go here, this is Guardian, Feral. This is the Druid tree right here. Okay, so this is what it looks like. All right, so I'll take this. Let me do something really quick. I want to do this. I want to like read it as I look at it, you know? Row 1, Rake. Okay, you get to choose between Rake, Frenzied Regeneration, Rejuvenation, or Starfire. So you get to choose between your stun. I guess you could pick up a lot of those, huh? I guess you can pick up a lot of those. Row 2 has Thrash, Improved Bark Skin, Swift Mend, Star Surge. Okay. You could technically get them all. Yeah, I guess you could. You get 30 points. So it seems like it seems to me, ladies and gentlemen, that at the beginning, you basically get to pick all your base abilities. Okay? So in row 3, I'm curious. You get Rip, which is an ability. Swipe is an ability. Improve Frenzy Regeneration. Remove Corruption. Okay, you have to spec into Decurse. Moonkin Form. Row 4, Maim. So the circles are passives, the squares are active abilities, and I think the rectangles are, or not the rectangle, what are they called? I don't know, shapes. The stop sign. Hexagon or some shit? Yeah, the hexagon. The hexagon is like an ultimate ability. We'll see, that's row 5. So row 4, Octagon. All right, yeah, Octagon, yeah, I should know that. All right, cool. Finishing the moves that cause physical damage and stuns the target is Maim. So you get to choose Maim. That's an ability. Then you have a passive, increased armor and physical damage, which is a tank thing. Iron Fur, another tank ability. All right, cool. So you kind of just rotate between like passive and active, so you can get a bunch of different abilities. Row 5, you have Feline Swiftness. Okay, Skull Bash, Thick Hide, and then you have a choice node. A choice node. You get to choose between Wild Charge or Tiger Dash. So basically you have the 2 mobility choices. I don't think you can get them both. You have to choose. Interesting. So you can't like stack both mobility choices. They give you kind of like a hard choice you have to pick. Cyclone is going to be more on like the balanced Resto Druid side of things. Astral Influence. I don't know what that is. Row 6, Tiger's Pursuit, Soothe, Sunfire, Typhoon. I'm kind of interested. Okay, row 7, we got Improved Sunfire, Wild Growth, Stampeding Roar, Ursark's Endurance, Primary Fury, and then another choice. You get to choose between Incapacitating Roar and Mighty Bash. All right. So, oh my god, I want to see the mage ones, man. What are the choices for mage? Deep Freeze and Dragon's Breath? What do you guys think? Improved Counterspell, Deep Freeze, Dragon's Breath? Maybe. Probably not, but maybe. Poly or Nova? Don't say that to me. Mass Entanglement, Ursula's Vortex. Oh, okay, that's another one. You get to choose between Mass Entanglement. This is interesting. What do you guys think about this so far? Well-honed Instincts. Okay, so now we're getting like deep in the tree, okay? Cast Frenzy Regeneration, Improve Stampeding Roar, Renewal, Innervate, Nature's Vigil, and then you kind of, here's the balance tree. So the Druid tree seems a lot more like, it's interesting. So the overall Druid tree seems a lot more like complex, and then the spec specific tree seems less complex. So you get to choose row 1, you get Eclipse. So you automatically get Eclipse as soon as you're a Druid. And then you have to pick between Improved Eclipse and Improved Moonfire, Force of Nature. So it doesn't seem like there's a lot of choices at the beginning of the Balanced Druid tree. So at the beginning of the Balanced Druid tree, it seems like you kind of just pick up all this stuff and you become more like Balanced Druid-y. I'm really curious to see, what is that, row 5. Row 5 is, where is it? So there's Solar Beam. Okay, Solar Beam. Where's the octagons? All right, go down. Oh, I want to see the octagons. Choice node. Twin moons. Moonfire deals 10% increased damage and also hits another nearby target, or burn the target for a small amount of astral damage and then additional astral damage over 24 seconds. Stellar flare. Okay. I don't know too much about druid, so I don't know like all these different choices. Looks like we have to spec into one of our 2 dots. It's so confusing. I think it'll feel a lot better when you actually get to put the points in and see exactly what it is. You know what I mean? Yeah, working talent tree simulator would have been awesome. Incarnation, Chosen of Elune, or Convoke. Convoke! Ah! Yay, I love it. I'm so happy. Circle of Life and Death, or Choice Node. All right, so here's the crazy choice nodes. New Moon. Deal astral damage to the target and empowers New Moon to become Half Moon. Fury of Elune calls down a beam of pure celestial energy that follows the enemy. Okay. Adaptive Swarm. They're adding Adaptive Swarm in as a talent. They're keeping that. And Balance of All Things. And then like your final Druid talents. Okay, here are the final Druid talents. Wait, what? I want to see the final... Where's the final Feral Druid talents? Oathbreaker. Okay, so the Feral talents are in there. Oh, that was the final row. Row 10. Okay. Okay, improved incarnation. They have that as a passive, and then every 30th shooting star, a full moon upon its target. What the heck? Every 30th shooting star calls down a full moon? The heck? Okay. Very interesting. Now, I think... I from what I see so far, this seems cool. This seems cool. But I also have to say, it's going to be hard to say until you can actually put the points in. Because there's all these abilities that sound really awesome and cool, but I wonder how many of them you're actually going to get, you know? I really hope DKs don't get A-bombs, Lim. Please, for the love of everything. All right, well, you know what? This seems cool. This seems cool so far. I've nothing bad to say about this. I'm just curious to see what it's like when you actually put the points in, and if you feel like you're going to be missing, you know, like a core part of your kit, or how that's going to feel. So that's going to be the most interesting thing to me. But I think so far the talent trees look like they have a lot of promise, and for me, I'll know a lot more about it when it's like a class that I know. I don't really know Druid that well, to be honest with you, but I know like Mage and Monk and stuff like that pretty well. I mean, it's going to be the same thing for Death Knights here, but you guys, you can take a look at the Death Knight tree as well. I wouldn't mind actually looking at maybe, okay, so Unholy. I want to see like some of like the big choices that they get. So they have to actually spec into Mind Freeze. They have to spec into Anti-Magic Shell, which is interesting. So what is this? This is base abilities. Okay, so, oh, actually they don't. So the base abilities are Death Coil, Death Grip, Ruin Forging, Dark Command, Dark Gate, On a Pale Horse, Path of Frost, Death and Decay, and Ruin Strike. They have to spec into Chains of Ice, Death Strike, Raise Dead, Mind Freeze, Anti-Magic Shell, Icebound Fortitude. Okay. Where is the choice node? Runic Empowerment. Each runic power you spend has 2% chance to grant you a ruin. Each runic power you spend has a 1.6 chance to increase your rune regeneration. Interesting. Of Asphyxiate, Anticipation, Death's Advance, Anti-Magic Barrier. Reduces the cooldown of Anti-Magic Shell by 20% and increases the duration and absorb by 40%. Ah, I hate this ability. As a caster, 2 thumbs down. Grip of the Dead. Death and Decay reduces movement speed of enemies by 90%. Is this a thing in the game? Like, Death's Reach. Increases the range of Death Grip by 10 yards. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. The choice nodes are the ones that are the most interesting. Oh, that's it. Oh, row 10, A-Bombs Limb, Empowered Rune Weapon. I think you only get to choose like one of these, right? Or Soul Reaper. Seems like it's going to be a gripping experience. Yeah, I'm really happy they added A-Bombs Limb. Signed, everyone that's not a Death Knight. All right, let's... not that interested in blood. All right, let's see Frost. What does Frost get for some of their... Frigid Executioner. Obliterate has a 10% chance to refund ruins. Rage of the Frozen Champion. Obliterate has a 50% chance to trigger Rime and Howling Blast. Okay. Exonerable Assault. Cold Heart. Oh, that's the Chains of Ice damage. The Chains of Ice damage one is weird though, because it's nerfed in PvP. as far as I know, unless they unnerf it. I kind of hate when there's like a talent that is like really interesting and fun, and then it's just like super nerfed in PvP. This makes it like so you don't have many choices, you know. Choice node, piercing chill. Enemies suffer 5% increased damage from chill streak each time they're struck by it, and during chill. Oh, is there still going to be PvP talents, I wonder? I think there is, right? Yeah, there is. Obliteration, Incap. Let's see, Unholy Death Knights. Unholy Pact. Dark Transformation creates an unholy pact between you and your pet. Igniting flames. Okay, so they got the flame things. Defile the target ground, dealing shadow damage to all enemies over 10 seconds. Yeah, I don't really know too much about Death Knight, so I don't know like what of this is base. Oh, Gargoyle. Summon a Gargoyle into... Wait, is Gargoyle in the game right now, or is that... Did they add it back? Is Gargoyle actually in the game? I feel like no one ever plays Gargoyle. Damn, no one ever plays Gargoyle. But yeah, super interesting, guys. I can't wait for them to do Mage. I really want to see Mage. So very cool, very promising so far. Yeah. I'm curious to see what your guys' thoughts are on the talent trees. Like my biggest concern, like I said, is that it's gonna like I hope it doesn't feel like you don't have a lot of your kit. You know, like it would be a real shame if you had to pick for Mage, for example, if it's like you have to pick between Polymorph and Counterspell. That would be a shame. You know.